Yeah, to our viewers out there, the Kibanda Pundits here return for the year 2020. The previous year, of course, a lot to talk about. We did talk about that. We have a new year. We remain the same, but of course changed because this is double 20. And today I'll be joined by Joel Muita, alias Odumegu. The people know why he's called Odumegu. Of course, he's not Nigerian, but Joel, welcome to the new year. And then a word to the fans out there.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here, and Happy New Year to the viewers, and Happy New Year to you as well. Of course, you, the love niggas, want to call it 2020. I don't know what that means, but we are happy to be here. Of course, it's a fresh year, and so many things that will be happening, of course, this year, and we are here to give you everything that happens. Of course, you know, Kawowo Sports is here to deliver every time.
Yeah, the best sports website in the country, and of course some parts of Africa, and also in Iran and parts of America. Joel Muita, a lot to talk about this afternoon, the 6th of January 2020, like it prefers to call it. First, we have what's your expectations of the year? I'm going to give you a spot. Just in seconds, you tell me what you expect. Boxing?
Boxing, we have Tokyo 2020. Of course, the qualifiers or the national trials ended yesterday. And some of the boxers qualified for the African Olympic qualifiers that will be happening in Senegal next month. So we expect a lot, but I think my hopes would be in a boxer called Adnan Yassin. Not so many people know him. But of course, he didn't qualify for All Africa.
Now they are getting to know him because of Kawowo.
Yeah, he didn't qualify for All Africa Games last year, ended by Joshua Tukamuheva. But yesterday, they had a rematch and he won that one. And he's one of the people that I will be looking forward to. I think he will be making it to Tokyo. Then we have, of course, Shadil Musa, the captain of the Bombers. He's been getting there, but it doesn't impress whenever he gets on the international scene. We hope the fourth time he will make it. So that's all about boxing.
I've been impressed by one Nasali. I don't know.
Nasali, of course, she ended Helen Baleke, who was an All-Africa medal.
So it's now Nasali within there?
Yeah, Nasali qualifies, and Helen Baleke doesn't go there.
Yeah, I followed Nasali's training sessions via some reports from people down there on the boxing ground, but I've been impressed, and the fact that she's Nasali, of course, I did expect a lot from her. I won't ask any other sport. Let's jump straight into what we have for today, and we shall be joined by you out there to give your views. We have the Uganda Premier League that gets underway, the second round tomorrow. A lot of games throughout the week. And then we have the under-17 women. Are they women or girls?
Girls.
Yeah, preparing for...
But it depends on the part of the world where you are. Because
no.
in the other setups, by 17 you're already a woman. Here in Uganda, you're still a girl. Until you make 18.
And in Islam, you're already a woman. The moment you start to... Of course, women know. They are preparing for the World Cup for the first time in many years, actually. First time ever in Uganda. They will be facing Ethiopia this Saturday. And of course, after that, just in case they make it, we shall see how far they can go. And the question is, how are the preparations and how far do you think they can go after winning the COSAFA, the SEKAFA, and now they want to conquer Africa and then go to the World Cup?
I would first of all give kudos to FUFA for making sure women's football grows in Uganda, because this is the first time we're having an under-17 setup. I think it started last year. Yeah. Then they went and won the COSAFA, came here and won the SEKAFA, so they are going miles ahead.
And almost the same team that played in the SEKAFA Senior Challenge. For
almost,
for the women.
Of course, a couple of names there you could mention. Juliet Nalukenge, the team captain, Fauzia Najemba, almost in the same state as Juliet Nalukenge. And of course, you asked about the preparations. They started on Friday, entered residential camp at FUFA Technical Center in Njeru, and they have been there for a couple of days. I think this is the 4th day. The training is going on, and of course, a double session under Ayub Khalifa. You believe by Friday there will be...
The one I refer to as Aganaga. Sometimes I prefer to call him Aganaga.
By Friday they will be returning to Kampala as they prepare for that game against Ethiopia on Saturday at StarTime Stadium Lugogo. But of course Ethiopia, I should say they have a bit of experience better than us, because they have participated in qualifiers for 2 occasions, the last 2 editions. Of course, they haven't gone to the final, but at least they have been there before us. But in Sekafa region, I think Uganda is miles ahead of any other team. If you look at the experience of the players, first of all, not because of their age, but they start football at a very young age.
Yeah.
Because if you consider players like Narukenge, they have played for in the Elite League for about 3 seasons. Now this is their 4th
They
season.
started at 14.
At around 14 or 12 players are already playing in the top tier league. So I believe we have an upper hand, and the fact that you are starting at home, you believe you have to finish everything here before you go to Addis Ababa. Of course, the return leg coming, I think, in a week's time. And the win on aggregate will face either Tanzania or Burundi. And we beat all those. We drew with Tanzania here in the Sekafa, but we beat Burundi 4-0 in our open at the Sekafa Championship. So you believe if we go past Ethiopia, we have better chances of reaching the World Cup, because it's only just 2 stages to the World Cup.
So how far do you think we shall go?
I think we can qualify for the World Cup.
Forget can, shall we? Because when you say I think we can, you have the belief. But how far do you think we shall go? I want an answer that says we shall qualify or we shall not qualify.
I'm not going to say that, but I think we have better advantage over the other opponents.
All right, and when he speaks women football, nobody in the country comes close, not even the people at FUFA that do fund these teams. Now, John, let's jump to the CAF Awards. Riyad Mahrez, Sadio Mane, and then Mohamed Salah. Salah has won the previous 2. Riyad Mahrez was, did he win or he won BBC African Football?
He won BBC
and
when
then,
he was at Leicester.
For starters, those are the top 3 Africans we have at the moment. Reports of Riyad Mahrez and Momo Salah not attending. What do you make of that?
I think it's upon CAF themselves, because this is, I think, their event, and the prestigious event on the African continent. So you need to have all these people attending them. But of course, we have seen even at the better stages, the FIFA Best Awards,
so
Cristiano Ronaldo not attending. So I think it's about the availability of these players, because Liverpool are trying to chase for the league in England, but Man City as well.
But they don't have a game today.
Regardless, but of course the connections in Africa. When you come here, you need to take long. So I think it's not good for us as a continent, but
especially if the 2 of them miss.
Yeah,
surely that's if they miss, because that's a report coming from Egypt. And
you would wonder if Mo Salah is missing, then why not Sadio Mane as well?
Because they play for the same team. Then I would say Riyad Mahrez could have a better reason, because they're playing in the Carabao tomorrow against Manchester United, and you think Pep Guardiola wants to have all his guns around. But
of course you would also throw it to CAF and the timing of hosting these events. I think they would find a very amicable time where at least everyone is free. Of course, you wouldn't find that, but at least there are better times to do this than right now, because almost every other player is engaged, and you wouldn't want to have a ceremony where you don't have your best.
So if you were a part of the CAF executive, which dates would you pick, especially months of the year? Because this is something that is annual, that happens between, it's a 12-month cycle, January to December. Would you have them in May or June?
May would be very far, but considering that English Premier League for the first time will have a break, you would put it in that very break. But of course, you're not looking at only English Premier League, because you don't know the next nominees where they will come from. They will come from Spain. Yes. So it's a bit tricky, but we shall go with what...
They could even be coming from Africa, where we see, say, Tadeo Luanga from Tanta, and then it's part of the top 3 in Africa. But then Does that mean that Sadio Mane is already the African Player of the Year 2019?
If you would ask for my opinion about who I want to win, would be of course Sadio Mane, but of course you consider the other players as well. Riyad Mahrez helping Algeria to lift the African title. Of course, in terms of giving the awards sense,
yes, impact
because
on
these are
football.
very best, for the African continent. But of course, the performance in a whole, because we are considering the whole year. And if you consider the performance of all the final three, personally, I believe Sadio Mane has had a very wonderful year. Of course, Senegal didn't win, but they reached the finals, and he was very influential. And then if you consider his performance at Liverpool, he was influential as well. Mo Salah, I think there was a bit of a decline for him this year, considering that he had the other previous 2 years, he was very, very, very good, and you'd consider he's had a sort of a decline. So personally, I would go for Sadio Mane, Riyad Mahrez in second position, then Mo Salah in third.
Hey, so you concur with me that it's Riyad Mahrez, Sadio?
No, mine is Sadio Mane first.
No, mine is Riyad Mahrez, but of course, on an individual basis, considering the whole season, including European football, nobody comes close to Sadio Mane. You talked about connections and remembered, I have a friend, Julie Musoke. She lives in South Africa these days. She's left South Africa for Dakar, Senegal, but she's going to travel for 14 hours because of the connections within.
Yeah, Mamelodi Sundowns had to play in Algeria, but they had first to go to Paris, then to connect back to Africa.
The next time I'm with Joseph Owino here, because he's my expert when it comes to flights. Sometimes he goes to Israel, sometimes to Iran, Iraq, and everywhere. I'll ask, can't we have a direct route like the express highway from here to, it's kind of amazing, but that's Africa. Now I understand why a player like Riyad Mahrez and say Mohamed Salah, their club will say no. If it's Africa, don't go.
Sometimes even if they are coming here for maybe continental football engagements, they are given private jets.
They should get private jets to make sure this ceremony is honored. And now, away from Africa, but before we get off the words, were you surprised that Emokwi and Dennis Onyang are not anywhere near anything similar to the CAF Awards this time around?
I wouldn't be surprised, because whereas Emokwi had a wonderful year, in my opinion, is the best player for Uganda in 2019. But I think that's a topic for another day. In my opinion, I think the three nominees, because if you consider the other players from the Maghreb region that guided their clubs to continental triumphs, you believe there are males ahead of them. If you consider the year in which Onyango won that award, 2016, he had helped Mamelodi Sundowns to win the Champions League. So,
and also the league at home
in
South Africa. So
you believe the proper choices. Of course, Onyang and Okwi had a wonderful year, but the choices for CAF are very good.
All right. The transfer window in Ugandan football did open on the 1st of January, and it ends until the end of this month. Vipers have shown they want to win this
at all
costs by adding Paul Muchules, and then there is a young South Sudanese
Emmanuel Data.
So far, what do you make of Paul Muchules' decision to move from Mbarara to Chitende, where he started his football, by the way, and St. Mary's, though he never played for Vipers, and then the fact that he has been given shirt number 14 that belongs to Wafula. I've been watching their training today. Wafula is training within shirt number 14. So he will train with 14, play with another number.
I think they will change in the due course. But I think I was one of the people that were not comfortable with Muchules moving from KCC to Mbarara. I thought at that time he was playing for the national team already, the Chan team. And I think at that time there was a little bit of a decline for him. regardless of the fact that he was an influential player at Mbarara City, scoring 8 goals last season. But coming back to Vipers, we all know Vipers and KCC are the best 2 teams in the country at the moment, even if you look at in terms of success. So you believe him being at Vipers is a better platform than wherever he has been, Mbarara City. So I think a good move for him as a player, and a good addition for Vipers as well. Because if you look at this season, the burden of scoring goals and of course moving forward has all been shouldered on Fad Bayo. And you think the second round is very crucial for any team that wants to win the league. So if you have different angles where you can get goals, it's very good. Because if I did the other story about Muchureza and the impact he may have at Vipers. If you look at Vipers, their goals this time round, you have Fad Bayo with 9. Dan Mzee Serunkuma has only 3 this season. Then the rest have 1-1 each. Hey. So Muchureza at Mbarara City in the first round had 3 goals, same as Serunkuma. So if you have a player that has goals in him and gives you the directness that you've been lacking, because in most cases, if you have a very good striker, you need people that will complement him. And Muchureza will do this definitely. So I believe it's a good signing for Vipers, for a player that will bring you the pace, the directness, the goals, and the championship mentality, because he knows how to win.
Yeah, he's won it at KCCA. Yeah. He's done well at Mbarara City, where they finished first last season. And then this young boy, Data, his signing, does it mean they've been lacking another right back? Because they've only had Paul Wheeler, and even when Paul Wheeler doesn't play, you feel there is not that proper right back.
Of course, they have the other options in Bashir Asiku, who can play there, but not very comfortable.
Actually, as a defensive right back, but
as a makeshift.
Yeah, but modern day right back should be at least Wheeler. Of course, he has to improve his crossing and everything.
Yeah, then you have Geoffrey Waswa returning, but you're not very sure if he will give you the same performance he had before getting that injury. But Joseph Data, a player that is just growing, and of course very influential at Budeses, where he's been schooling. He's their captain, and you believe this is a very good chance for him going into a team that requires you to up your game, to be very competitive every other time. So you believe, first of all, it's a good move for him as a player. You'll get a couple of things, but I'm very cautious about his game approach, because he's not one of those players that will give you the modern right back that you're asking, because he's very cautious about his approach, not a player that will move the flank as you want. So very cautious about the signing, but of course he's a young player and there is room for him to grow.
Of course, not so many teams have been into the market so far, but there are reports of Mustafa Kizza, Allan Okello. We are not sure whether by the end of this month they will be at KCCA. And even if they stay, we are not sure whether they will be there beyond June. What do you make of that? And what's cooking? Because we've seen a lot of stories, Morocco, Azam, and everyone. What exactly is happening to these 2 boys at KCCA? Because the last time I checked, they were at the club, but were not training with the club.
Actually, if you remember, there is a story I did here during the course of the first round. And very many KCC fans didn't find it comfortable. They thought it was just a cooked-up story about the same 2 players. First of all, there were negotiations of them renewing their contracts, to which the players turned down because the club wasn't meeting their demands. One of the posts indicates Mustafa Kizza was asking for about 100 million shillings.
That's very little money.
Very little money. But
if you KCCA, as long as there is that word A, which is the authority.
Yeah, but regarding that, our setup in Uganda, there is not a player that has signed for such an amount. And
I think Thomas could be.
No, it was slightly below.
No, over 70 million?
Yeah, this one is asking for 100.
But with the markets that costs around 30 by day.
Yes, you talk about that, but we know Mulindwa can do everything it takes to get a player.
But Mulindwa is the one. If
yes, Mulindwa is willing to cough the money.
So,
but KCC is not willing, and you would set a bad precedent at KCC because these players have been put into a scenario of them signing for, I would say, peanuts. Because every other time, actually, even the players, when they were just coming from the academy, you remember the contracts they had.
Just tell the public, how much did they sign for? I mean, monthly wages.
Initially, they were supposed to sign for 100,000 shillings.
Of course, 100,000 shillings, not dollars.
Dollars.
But
Ugandan shillings.
Yeah, monthly. That's what Okello and
we're supposed to sign, but of course, after a few negotiations, I think it was up to about 400,000 shillings. And I think that's what they have been getting, if I'm not mistaken. Because there haven't been any renewal since then.
If you Okello and Mustafa, would you put pen to paper at KCCA without them meeting what you demand? And if you are KCCA, you are in such a dilemma, what do you do?
First of all, I think in our setup, it doesn't require a player to stay here for more than 3 seasons. Because Allan Okello-Mustafa Kizza have grown beyond the competition that we have here. There is nothing they are going to improve about our setup here because they have literally done everything. They have won the title. Allan Okello has won a cup with the national team. What else do you need? You need to go and gauge yourself elsewhere. So
where? In Somalia?
Not in Somalia, but
because when you talk about them leaving this league,
yes,
you must have a proper destination within you that you know when they get to this place, they will continue to grow as players, but also earn something. Because it's not a matter of them just leaving the country. Because I'll give you an example. I read a story about Azam inquiring about
Mustafa
Kizza and his availability. Of course, Azam is proper. They are run professional. I've been to TZ and visited some of their premises and everything. But they are not a club that will grow the careers of these players the way we try to think they are. Because at the end of the day...
And that's the bad thing. Because we think they are so talented and out of this world.
No, but they are going to...
No, we've seen so many players in the caliber of Allan Okello. We had the Bengals. We had so many players that have come and have shown all this impression that they will be good players. But every time you let them stay in this kind of environment, they're not growing sincerely.
Is it the reason KCCA coach Mike Mutebe once said, remember the Barcelona veterans that came to Uganda? Forget the ones that were brought by, I've forgotten the name, but our boss here, Joseph Owino, I think was part of that.
The Clivert?
Yeah, the Clivert. But there is a guy who brought them, he's Spanish. He did the same in Zimbabwe and Zambia.
The name as well,
he even promised to construct stadiums there, and nothing has been constructed. By the next time we are with Joseph Owino on the set, we shall ask about how far with
their project.
Yeah, there was a sports complex that had to be built around Kampala.
Maybe he was given the money.
I've forgotten the name. Joseph Owino, wherever you are, if you remember that name of that Spanish young man that once played at Barcelona, according to him,
I think he should go to Kosasi.
Of course, we shall. With time, we shall
constitute our own Kosasi.
Mark Namanya, this guy of the tourism, forgotten the name as well. I don't know whether it's because I should remember the name before I leave here. And then Juma Balinja, all over the news. Today is joining Wachiso, tomorrow is joining Chetume, the other day is training at police, today is in Nairobi to see the move to Gor Mahia. Where do you think he will end? And besides, is it so much about him not settling here after just a few months in Young Africans?
I feel very sorry for Juma Balinya because for a player that he was at police, I think he had revived himself and he had gotten his feet back. I thought this was the right time for him to make a proper move. Of course...
now, by the way, I never agreed with him moving
going
abroad.
to Tanzania.
No, whatever.
Yeah.
But moving abroad. I wanted him to have another season here and then maybe
Yeah, I would concur with you on that, and I think that's why he lost it all, because he went into a setup that is currently in shambles, young and not doing very good in terms of finances, and he was bound to come back. So he's here, and of course reports indicating joining Wakiso Giants, Chetume, and the last reports indicating Gor Mahia, but moving from young to Gor Mahia is almost
flying from
he's moving from the frying pan into the fire.
Because
so,
I think young Africans, despite the financial problems, they can still pay. That's why the likes of Kevin Yondan are still at the club. But then Gor Mahia, there are two players one is from Ghana and another from Ivory Coast.
Yes.
They've ditched the club for non-payment of salaries. And surprisingly, one is Giakim Apie has joined the Young Africans. And then Balinya wants to go to, it's like exchanging problems. But of course, such a problems with such big clubs, they will always come, but they will always go, because I've read somewhere, Gor Mahia are very soon unleashing a new sponsorship package with an unknown company right now at the moment, as well as cash and kit. Then I've read an interesting piece from their coach. Is it Polak something? He says he's amazed by the way clubs in Kenya and East Africa run. Players leave the club, for instance, in this window because they are not being paid.
Then another set of players
and then they are signing. So he's asking, where do they get the money to sign when they did not get this money to pay the existing players? But of course, that happens in Uganda. We've seen it.
Yeah, Villa, Express, almost every other team.
Every team, by the way, because as recent as 2004, of course, so many viewers out there were not born yet, or were not so much into football. KCCA were being paid by Ewan Mojibo Kasule, who was a player. They were eating sugar canes at training. I remember they used to call them Amabaria Vikajo. By then, Villa had the likes of Omar Mandela, Tushal Pareria, Kapo Mugabe, Express Adi Chirumira, but it has turned around. We even don't know what if one day we get an executive director at KCCA that says, you know what, what's football? 11 people this side and 11 the other side running after something.
But I think all that goes back to the fact that in Uganda, first of all, we don't respect contracts. That's if there are contracts anyway. And of course our players, most of them lack guidance. Because in most cases, if a player let's say...
But before you interrupt, of course, somebody was trying to tell me the other Spanish that did work with Joseph Owino, Mark Namanya, to bring those Spanish legends. But of course, maybe he will return somewhere and then give us the name.
Yes, of course, going back to the fact that our players, they lack guidance. If a player does well in the first round, he's thinking of a move going to another country. And not very sure about the terms he will find there, the conditions. Then in the next few years, he's back here. So it's a case of our clubs not being set in the proper manner, and then our players not being educated, like Mutebi usually says. And like Abdallah Mubiru usually says, our players are very good from the toes to the neck, then the head.
They're one of the best.
That's what disturbs us a lot.
The Uganda Premier League returns tomorrow. SC Villa away to URA at the Arena of Visions at Indege University. And then Ondumparaka, a depleted Ondumparaka, visiting
disorganized Toro United.
I don't want to use the word disorganized, but I don't know
what
to call. Is it
an understatement?
I don't know what to call Toro. Two problems with a lot of no problems are facing at St. Paul's Seminary.
And can you imagine 2 problems facing up at a seminary?
Yeah, maybe there will be the catechist will intervene. But of course, before we just dwell into the main games, what's happening at Otumbaraka? Because the latest I had, of course they have the players, but not all the players. I had Tabu left,
Yeah, he's joining Bull.
I read somewhere on Kawowo, Gerega attended the best right back in this country at the moment, moving to Wachiso. Of course, that's false. Speaking on behalf of Wachiso,
I thought you were here as a journalist.
No, I've not seen Gerega attended anywhere at Wachiso.
Like you usually do before any transfer does.
No. But I've always been right here, especially when it comes to Kawowo. I'm always straight. And then I've seen Gerega attended. The coaches, Charles Livingston Baba's left. Sadiq Sempija has also left. Their goalkeeping coach also left. It's like Simeone Masaba
is the one now handling.
Yeah, so what should we expect of a problematic Toro United hosting a depleted and financially stricken Ondumparaka?
Yeah, this literally paints the picture of our league, because every other season you have clubs are struggling in such terms. And you would wonder whether our future is bright, because every other time we're talking about professionalizing our league.
Bright is future, but I'm not sure
if the future is bright. We're ever talking about professionalizing our league, but this is the state of the clubs, and we all know what happened at Toro United in the first round. The Waswa boss are leaving, players are threatening to strike, and so much happening. But of course, Ondumparaka equally in the same state.
Right now.
Of course, since the departure of the betting camp and the ad, they haven't really gotten a proper source of funding, because we all know people are digging deep into their pockets to fund these clubs, and of course you reach a moment where you can't handle, and that's...
By the way, before you continue, I was in Arua when Wachiso Giants did play Ondumparaka. But given that I spent over 24 hours there, I tried to do research about what's happening to the club that was thought to be causing all alarms within the Ugandan football. So the people there told me, at first they thought this club belonged to them, until they know it did not belong to them, but to a one Benjamin Nyakuni.
Yeah.
Now, most of the players are leaving because one Benjamin Nakuni, my friend by the way, Benji, of course we shall have a discussion to know whether these allegations are right or wrong. So they say he threw a lavish wedding over 600 million, but of course he cannot pay them.
But that's his money. It's his money.
Because remember, even the bus project,
yeah.
Why it did stop is when they realized this club does not belong to us, the community, and it belongs to this person. And then you talked about people digging into their own pockets. Now, if you have a chance, you have these people, like the way they were collaborating, and then what gets into our heads to put people away from football?
No, of course, the fact that Ondumparaka is a community club, it doesn't mean that every fan will have authority over it.
No, it isn't a community club.
It's a community club.
On paper.
Okay, it was set up in the sense of a community club. That's why it has all this following and whatever. But of course, even a community club must have proper administration and leadership. And in this case, it's Benjamin Nyakunyi, the head, because they are the people that started it after leaving campus. A couple of young people that were, of course, unemployed at the moment.
It's a big business.
So they decided, to start a club with them as players at the time. Eventually, it grew into a big team, and but of course, you would expect such problems to happen because they didn't have a proper source of funding.
So it was
a tough one, but I think Toro United being at home will edge this one.
And then Villa did have a very bright first round of the season. Even during this training session within the mid-season, not a lot of news has happened at Villa Park, just like before. Of course, what happened previously was that players out there should come for trials.
Yeah.
But of course, although they came, it was always a little silent. They've done the same thing within this window. They play URA, draw specialists. URA did begin the season on a bright note. I remember them whitewashing Maroons, and the coach, Sam Kimba, sent a warning. So what should we expect? URA hosting at a new venue?
New venue.
Should we expect a new venue, a new everything about URA? They don't have Patrick Mbowa. They don't have Najib Faisal. Brian Majega is doubtful. Ibrahim Juma Dada, I don't know when he plays, by the way. And who else? Ronaldo Donkonyero. He used to play for Fondeje, so it would have been nice if he's there.
Yeah.
So what should we expect from that game?
I would say a tough one. The fact that the league is just resuming, of course, after a bit of a layoff, you believe these players are not in proper shape. But of course, towards the end of the first round, URA seemed like they were picking up. And Ville, of course, they were brilliant in the first round. So you believe
losing the opener
and losing the closing one.
Yes.
Yeah, you would expect a very tricky encounter between these two sides, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in a draw.
Then we shall have Mbarara City visiting KCCA. Of course, KCCA are gunning for their first win
against
Mbarara City. Is it the time to get
in 6 attempts? I think this is the proper time for KCC to win against Mbarara, regardless of the people that will be employed by Mike Mutebi. But I think KCC will be getting their first win. Of course, Brian Senyon on the other end he's tried to put up a couple of surprising performances, especially towards the end of the first round when he bounced back. But I think visiting KCC, and of course knowing that this is the right time not to lose a game, because every other time you lose, Vipers on the other end will be winning, and of course they are playing against Chetume.
They are talking Vipers. They are hosting Chetume at the St. Paul Stadium in Chitende. Should we expect a Paul Muchure's colourful debut?
I don't know if he will play.
He will. He will. He's already started training. He's gunning for that game, unless there is some paperwork for through the facts that has not been resolved. But if not,
that's why I said I don't know if he will play.
Because you're sure the facts will.
I'm not sure about that, but
the fax machine.
Regardless of whether he plays, I think Vipers have enough in their armory to make sure they beat Chetume. Chetume also in kind of shambles, of course, after the coach returning. I'm forgetting the name. Jackson Mayanja, after leaving someone temporarily to handle the job.
As he worked there.
As he worked in Tanzania. So he's back at the helm, and you believe he will start on a tough one, because Vipers at Chitende is not one of those fixtures you would want to start, especially if you're a coach.
For the first time this season, two Cranes coaches will come up against each other. Charles Livingstone Mbaba is in the dugout at Wakiso Giants, hosting his boss, first assistant at Cranes, that's Abdallah Mbiru. What should we expect of this game?
Isn't this the first game for Mbabas?
Yes.
Yes, a good one, but I think I would first of all want to give some time to Mbabas to really know what he will do at Wakiso Giants, because
given that these are not his players, of course. Not that coaches should have their own players.
Yes.
But
of course we know what Mbabas can do at a team. But I would want to see whether he will get that at Wakiso Giants, because I'm one of the people who think Wakiso Giants should be competing against KCC and Vipers, regardless of the fact that this is their first season. But if you look at the playing unit they are very capable of pushing KCC and Vipers, but simply because of some reasons I won't mention here.
Of course, they did not start so well, but then they
yes, simply of reasons I won't mention here.
No, they have a chance to redeem themselves in the second round. A new coach, new philosophy.
But this is a coach who pushes people to work hard. And for players at Wakiso Giants, some of them are very reluctant to be pushed. And I don't know if this will happen at Wakiso Giants.
If a coach wants them to be pushed, they will be pushed. That's why. So what's your prediction? What you saw?
Of course, Police won the first game. In the first round.
Goal down.
Yes.
And scoring late in the game.
I believe Wakiso will edge this one 2-1. But an exciting game to watch.
And then we have George Samogerere visiting Jinja. I don't know what always happens, because His first game was Express coach
against Bull,
in Ginger.
and he lost.
His opening game this season
Was against Bull,
in Ginger.
and he lost.
He's visiting Ginger at the Might Arena to face Busoga United.
Yes, Soga United. A tough one, but of course, with the reports indicating Joel Madonda is not available. He's in Morocco for trials. So you would wonder who would lead the attack for Soga United.
They've had Zidane Sewava, then Boban Zirinto.
Sewava who doesn't score.
The
He rarely
Sewava
scores.
who injured Yasini Mugabe. When Yasini Mugabe had already gotten the ball.
Yeah, but of course they have had a couple of players, like you mentioned, Boban Zirintusa. He was quite impressive in the first round. Tezicha Lawrence, one of the budding strikers. Then you have
the defender.
Douglas Muganga.
Yeah.
Then you have Ivan Wani.
By the way, despite the fact that there is no Madondo, not so many games in the first round that has he played, by the way. So he was always either out of the team.
Because of national team engagements
and injuries. That's why the game I remember most that he played was the Ginger Derby. Because I remember that acrobatic winner.
Yes.
Not even winner, because they were already winning. But I don't think they will miss him that much. But of course, they're hosting Express. Prediction?
A tough one, because Ginger is not one of those grounds you want to visit every other time. It's I would say a tough one, and I think it's ending in a draw. I think some will pick it.
Which other games? Bright Stars will be in action. Floor Line as well. Bulls.
Yes, Bull.
Forgotten
the other fixtures.
Yes. But starting tomorrow, Villa fans out there, and of course, you are a fan. Because I know one one man is Ame, been the Arena of Visions in Deje, and then Tuesday, KCCA. I know many KCA fans would want to see. Wednesday.
Yes.
They would want to see, is Okello and Kizza playing? So that also calls for fans to be there.
To be in Lugogo,
And of course, the Wachiso Giants fans have always said, no, we want football back at Wachiso. Remember, the first round had issues where games were hosted at Wankurukuku. And then their last game at the club, at their home, was the third last, because they ended the season with 2 games away from home. So this would be an opportunity to come and cheer the team. We want to thank you very much, and I want to thank Joel for making
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, because he's not someone that is easy to have at any time.
Really?
I admit that, because I remember one time a poster was even put on social media, but praise Joel.
It depends on social media where you are, because I'm on Twitter. People are on Facebook.
Do you have a phone?
Yes.
For anybody in this era that does not a mobile phone, it's always going to be tough to trace him. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Fred. Thank the viewers and everyone that makes sure we are always here at this time of the day.